me because my favorite lower league team is Carolina, and the best lower league
Oh, I love the
teams.
Railhawks.
I love the Railhawks too, and I would love for them to play Orlando. I love for them to play Charleston and Richmond, but they don't.
Yeah.
And
I have a little opinion, and some people have called this controversial a bit because it's a little too baseball. It's a combination of the baseball and the hockey level of uh, of running minor leagues, where you've got the major league division with MLS,
mhm,
and then the NASL. I would like to see them fill in as like a AAA level, where rather than focusing on player development and moving into MLS, this is big markets that aren't quite big enough for an MLS team, and talented players that can play at a professional level, but aren't quite cut for MLS.
right,
And I like seeing I really Bill Peterson is says a lot of things, but I think what he's trying to say is it frustrates him when he lobbies and works hard for years and years, like in the San Antonio case, to help them get a team, get their stadium built, work with the local ownership, and build the fan base. And then after one season in their stadium, they're begging to join MLS. And he's like, look, I've helped you guys out and I want to have a stable second division. And I think if we want the stable second division, we need to stop having teams immediately trying to claw their way into MLS.
well, I mean, that's on the supporters though, right? Because
Yeah,
MLS is certainly the highest level of soccer there is in the country, and if you want your team playing in the highest level of soccer in the country, if your market can handle it, if your stadium can handle it, and I feel like San Antonio and Minnesota and to a lesser extent Carolina fans are, they're not wrong for wanting to be in MLS. I feel like.
yeah, I know they're not wrong, but to me, it's just if we really want a stable minor league, we have to have fans and teams who are comfortable saying, we're okay to play in this second division for now, for the good of our team and for the league itself, because you need to have those consistent teams willing to be in there for the long run. That's how your rivalries are going to start growing.
Mhm.
That's how you're going to get the local community support and get it ingrained into the kids and all that, that this is your team and your league and your rivalry. Because that's kind of how the Pacific Northwest worked, where they were just in those lower leagues together for long
Right,
enough
right, right.
from, '01 on, that when they all joined MLS within the past 5 years,
Which is
they'd already had 10 years at that point in some cases of minor league play.
which is why it frustrates the hell out of me that NASL and USL are completely different entities and will stay that
Yeah,
way for a long time because on the Eastern Seaboard, I mean, they're talking MLS is talking about building American soccer in the Southeast. Well, you've got Atlanta and Carolina in the NASL right now, and you've got Richmond, Queen City SC next year, Charleston and Orlando, and Louisville, who's going to come in later.
and then
Um,
you've got the Strikers, the Rowdies,
yeah, exactly.
Jacksonville.
And they're split up like down the middle between two different leagues, which is completely and totally stupid. Like you could
Yeah,
build a significant rivalry between Charleston and Charlotte and Raleigh. They're all right next to each other, and they all
yeah,
love to hate each other. Oh, and Wilmington. I forgot about Wilmington,
yeah,
but they're there too. All those cities around each other, they've got the whole college football mindset. They'd love to hate each other if they
yeah,
had the opportunity. So, sorry, just a rant
yeah. No,
there,
no,
but
trust. I want to see two 24 team divisions. I think the differences between our second and third tier aren't super significant.
they're not
And
significant at all. It's like,
well, the main thing is it's most teams in USL have to put up $500,000 credit, and in the
uh-huh,
NASL you have to put up I think $2.5 million minimum credit with an
right,
ownership of $10 million net worth or more.
right.
So other than the financial side of it, there's not a whole lot of differences, and yeah, I could honestly see it's I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the only real proving ground for this I can see is how the USL expansion with MLS reserve teams go, and then the upcoming merger of the or folding of the MISL into the Professional Arena Soccer League. because
Right.
that's seeing USL losing a league to an outside entity. And I'm not entirely sure what would need to happen because I don't think the NASL is going to give up their independence. But I don't think the USL wants to give up their MLS affiliation. And I could
Right.
almost see 3 tiers, where the third tier is just teams, just MLS minor league teams, and run it like a typical minor league farm system, as in they are part of the academy fully, rather than just some affiliation.
Hmm.
And teams can either choose to be run as a farm team or jump up to the NASL and play as an independent franchise. And that's what I would like to see, but I know it's probably not going to happen. A lot of people disagree.
I'd personally like to see. I mean, if every MLS team is going to have either an affiliation or a or their own USL team like the Galaxy, and I assume that's what the Timbers are going to do next year because they can totally do it.
And New York is already announced that they're going to do it next year.
That's
And
right.
Dallas is rumored to be doing that next year too. Oscar hasn't said anything concrete. He's being very deliberately ambiguous. Which, by the way, that's another thing the Hunt brothers got. They signed Oscar Pareja.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
He's one of my faves in the coaching market. No, but yeah, I mean, I'd be a little bit more skeptical about Dallas just because I feel like Portland can do it because they can't. Everybody that wants to go to Portland games can't go to Portland games, and they'll gladly go to Portland reserve games. So I feel like they're gonna. I'm skeptical about New York. I'm skeptical about Dallas. Maybe Kansas City could do it. I don't know. Kansas City's building that really nice new training facility, so they might. That's where they might play.
Dallas just is FC Dallas just got a contract for a soccer complex downtown that's going to have a full training facility and a 5,000 seat stadium. And we're thinking the USL team is either going to play there right downtown, right off the DART station, which is our light rail.
Well, that would be fantastic.
You can't take light rail to get to Frisco, but people don't realize how massive the DFW area is.
Oh, like, it's sprawled as hell.
It's New York City big. It's LA big. It's almost the size of the full Chicagoland and suburbs area.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've got something like 6 million people in Dallas alone, and you know, you measure distances in half-hour drives, and from the bulk of the Metroplex, you can get to FC Dallas in half hour to 45 minutes. And for us, that's a normal morning commute. Like my dad is happy when he gets to work in less than an hour. My mom's got 25 minutes to her commute. If I want to the stadium or Rangers games or Cowboys games, it's about 45 minutes one way. Driving into downtown, it's about half an hour to 45 minutes depending on traffic. Driving to FC Dallas, 30 to 45 minutes. People are like, oh, it's out in Frisco, but that's like saying it's going from Brooklyn to Manhattan or to Queens.
Yeah,
or going from Maryland or like from Silver Springs into DC. It's a non-issue.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I wrote an article about this recently. Like, there are some places where that's okay, and Dallas is one of those places that's okay because driving is a big thing out there. And I feel like Denver's the same way. I feel like Chicago is not because that's a compact, big city where they like everything to be accessible by metro because it should be because it's the third biggest city in the country.
Where you've got the massive downtown core, and then you've got a massive sprawling suburbs.
Yeah.
And Dallas has that same issue, although our downtown core is a lot more spread out. But even still, our light rail, while growing, the problem is Dallas covers, the DFW area is something like 15 counties, all of whom have reserved the right to run their own public transportation. So Arlington, up until last year when they got a part-time bus route for Cowboys and Rangers games, was the largest city on the planet without public transportation. So we just kind of deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
And if they put it downtown right off the train station, I can see it doing really well, especially considering there's a lot of magnet schools right in that area.
Right. All right, well, that's close to the time that we have. you write for Reckless Challenge. You've written quite a few of these things up, I assume. If you want to
Mhm.
plug that, go ahead.
Yes, I'm going to be having an update over the current situation in Oklahoma City. I'm going to be having going to be covering some stuff about. I do want to write a piece about Antigua, the history of the Barracuda franchise, and the Hunt brothers' rejuvenation of FC Dallas.
Mhm.
And one thing I'm going to be working on lately that I've already started on is, if you're not aware of the whole situation going on in arena soccer, the United Soccer League operated major indoor soccer league. 6 of the 7 franchises have all quit the league,
Right.
including Milwaukee Wave, the oldest continuously operating soccer team in the country. And the PASL has an agreement with them that's now on paper for them to join the PASL for the next upcoming season.
Now the PA
Which,
sells the one with the San Diego Sockers, right? Who had that really massive
yes,
winning streak.
yes, that it was the longest. It was a 38 game continuous 38 game, I think, full continuous, no, 46 game streak at least. I gotta double check this because I remember I was at the game where Dallas Sidekicks broke it. Yeah,
Uh,
48 games, 6-5 overtime loss in Allen, Texas, with this at the hands of Tattoo and the Dallas Sidekicks, and that was a rivalry. Like, my mom and dad used to go to Sidekicks games back in the 80s when arena soccer was the soccer in the US.
right. I will say, arena. I feel like a lot of people, including me, we kind of just shunt arena soccer off to the side. They average a lot more than most, if not all, lower league teams, except for like Orlando and Indianapolis.
No, even
Yeah.
still, the PASL, in an attempt to get a lot more teams, was willing to put teams in like those pickup complexes where, you know, it's like 500 folding chairs surrounding the boards. But
Hmm.
you got a good number of teams that are averaging in several thousand. Monterrey, Mexico averaged, I want to say 9,000. Sidekicks did really well. Tacoma has had a tumultuous history. When they're playing in a bigger arena, they tend to draw better. But
Hmm.
the city of Tacoma has been screwing them around lease wise. I'm actually gonna pull that up very quickly just to cover that right before I go, because this is a fascinating thing. But people don't realize arena soccer is American soccer for the most part. Yeah. In the PASL, Hidalgo, Wichita, Harrisburg, Ontario, California, Dallas, San Diego, and Monterey all averaged over 1,000.
Right.
Dallas, San Diego, and Monterey were all above 4,000.
Yeah,
And
and that's the level that NASL and USL teams would love to bring in.
yeah,
So,
and having one united league, this is the first time in quite literally decades that there will be one united arena soccer league in North America. Because USL actually started off as the Southern Indoor Soccer League, a breakaway from one of the original MISLs. And
hmm,
now we've come full circle.
well, that's awesome. So yeah, do write about that. I will read it. I promise.
Yeah.
Also check out your stuff at Reckless Challenge. Do you have a Twitter?
Yes, John MLTX. I tweet occasional soccer things. Um, Mainly it's a lot of other mundane thoughts and observations and criticisms of IndyCar officials. But soccer does happen from time to time.
All right. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's John. Thank you for joining us, and
thanks for having me.
throw it back to Pete.
All right, see ya.
All right. Well, that was fascinating. I'll actually probably have to cut. We
Some
went
of
like
that down.
yeah, we went like 20 minutes or something. So I'm gonna have to. We'll see. But I'll definitely have I'll have at least 10 to 15 minutes of that in
Yeah,
there. So
yeah. That's rather have too much that you can cut down than not have enough.
yeah, although cutting down is hard because that's, I mean, it's always my job to do the editing because it's whatever.
Yeah,
But
I have a radio show. It's on the college radio station, not soccer related, but I do have to edit that, and it's yeah, I know what that's like, having to go and edit out all of the noise artifacts and the screw ups and everything to make it sound clean.
yeah, I used to have a working version of Audition, but it fucked up on me recently, so I have to use Audacity, which is less than ideal, but it is what it is.
I use Wavesaur. It's like Audacity, but a lot lighter weight and runs a lot faster.
Does it? I am having
Yeah.
trouble with, because we always have hour-long,
Yeah,
almost
I can
always
edit a
hour-long
3-hour
episodes.
show, and it takes 30 seconds to load and 45 seconds to export.
That is fantastic. It takes
And
10
that's
minutes.
on a laptop. Yeah, that's operating on a laptop where it's having to use a cooling pad because it'll overheat with Audacity. Wavesaur, go look that up. I cannot recommend that tool highly enough.
All right, I will do that. That's for sure. Do you follow the NBA? Your Mavericks. If you follow the NBA, your Mavericks are in overtime.
Oh, my dad does.
Okay.
He follows the Mavs and the Cowboys, and we both follow the Rangers. I follow FC Dallas and the Stars.
Okay.
My grandmother on my mom's side is a huge basketball fan, and my dad's gotten into basketball, and he watches the Mavs.